All right, welcome everybody. We're back. So this is the second Monday we've been back from the trip. The last time we talked about the airport. So I'm Harold Darn Lori over here, and we have Angel with us with the Unique Travel Team, and we're going to talk to a little bit about Halifax, Nova Scotia. It's the red little area right here. It's this island here that we went to. We left out of New York, out of Brooklyn, and that was our first stop was Halifax. We're going to talk about some of the things you can do there. But one of the things we found out is you can eat a English burger on a donut. It's not a hamburger. It's like ham, breakfast ham, steak, cheese, egg, and it was good. A lot of calories, but you're on vacation, so calories don't count. Calories don't count when you're on vacation. We talked about that already. So we usually start off with a little bit about what we're going on, and then we tell Angel to come up with the word of the day. So, Angel gonna surprise me with the word of the day today because I don't think I asked her yet. What's the word of the day, Angel? A duck boat. Well, we're gonna talk about the duck boat later. So just a little bit about it. Angel does not normally do very well with water and vehicles that are on dry ground. So she understands a boat. She understands a car. She understands that a car ends up in the water. That's a bad thing. No, so anytime we're in any kind of vehicle that goes in the water, usually causes a problem. So we really worked with, as we talk about it all the time, expectation management. We talked about it. We talked about it. We talked about it, and we explained to her if we're on it with you, it's safe. We're not going to put you in anything that's dangerous. We're not going to do this to you to cause any issues or problems. So let's just show it here. There it is. That was the Harbor Hopper, and it took us around Halifax. We kind of went into a shopping district. It was a good half mile from the ship, kind of like we had to kind of go around, and it was leisurely. It was a nice walk, and we got there well before the tour was, and we got there before a lot of the shops even opened. So it was kind of quiet and got to see the harbor. And yep, coffee is important for Lori. And then we were told to go to an area um, for a holding area to wait for the vehicle to show up. And then we were loaded from the back. They have a stairwell that comes down. And So if you have an issue climbing stairs, this may not be something for you. But Angel had her rollator with us, so they put the rollator in a at the holding area. The Because we didn't need it on the vehicle, we weren't getting off until we got back, so it wasn't an issue. They helped her get onto the stairs and then into the vehicle, and we pretty much sat down like on a bench seat. Yeah, they had up high and they have a down low. I'm not sure we can see here. Um, yeah, you can't. Well, this is not quite the one we were on because we had a top on ours, but you can see how there's some people higher than the others. But ours had a top on it, so it was covered. It wasn't raining or anything, but it was covered. But it was open air, so they take you first. They explain to you one of the thing is bigger. It's wider than the streets are. So they said that's kind of going to be an interesting thing. So keep your hands, arms, and legs in the vehicle at all times because you might want to keep what you have and not lose anything. Doesn't have a lot of suspension because it's actually a boat that has tires more or less, and these motors underneath it that propels the boat, and they kind of switch between the two. So while we're up and around, they took us through the whole downtown area, up to the old fort area and around, explained a little bit about where the clock tower was, and then we entered into the harbor itself from next to the casino, and they asked you want a little splash or a big splash, and this is where it's good to be in the back because everybody's like big splash, and well, the big splash took out half the people in the front of us, right? And I'm glad we were further back, so we stayed dry. So, and then it kind of took us around, very similar to this photo here. around where everything was kind of on our right, and they took us to where the ships were. So we kind of went right by the ship and the Royal Caribbean ship that was with us, and the Princess ship. And then we kind of turned around and they explained what was going on. It was actually a good 2 hour run, but a lot of really neat little things to see and then when we got done, there was a lot to do. So and then the next little thing we did was so this was the year before we went to Peggy's Cove, which is the lighthouse here. So do you remember anything about that one?
Lobster.
Lobster. Yep. So we did this is kind of way on the south side of the Nova Scotia area where that Peggy's Cove, this lighthouse is. There's a little off to the left, bottom left there is kind of where the gift shop restaurant was at. And then there was a little fishing village, and they said it's like less than 100 people that lived in this city, lived in a little
We
town.
walked around that whole little area
Yep.
shopping, and
Mm-hmm.
they had a lot of like artwork, paintings, and stuff.
Pewter and such, right?
Hmm.
A lot of stuff like that.
But it was very quiet. It was a nice little walk through there. And then when we got to the place to eat the lobster, we had to do our own lobster.
Yep. So you have you bring they brought us so we had it was kind of the tour of Peggy's Cove and lobster dinner kind of thing, and they had the ginger cake
Oh yes,
recipe,
that was
the
so good.
dessert,
Yes.
and but they bring a whole lobster out to you, so you kind of got to cut and play with it to get the meat out of it. I know Lori's learned that when we went to Boston, that asking for a hot lobster roll will get you pretty much the meat that you wanted without fighting with the lobster to get it.
Right.
Let somebody else fight
Right.
for you. You'll fight for your right for lobster.
Unless you like to do that kind of thing.
There are people that do love to do that stuff.
I prefer to sit down and eat.
Well, and you get spoiled on cruise ships
Yes.
because they cut the lobster tail out for
Yes,
you,
and
and then they take the shell away, and
Mhm.
you're trying to get the same, and that doesn't work that way. So another thing that they have in Halifax is the Titanic cemetery. So Halifax was the closest land area, I guess the nearest metropolitan to the site to where the Titanic was the accident occurred, and so they launched boats and stuff out of here, out of Halifax to claim the bodies and stuff, and a lot of them were buried in the area near Peggy's Cove. It's not too far from there. So if you're a Titanic buff, you would know of Halifax for that having been there for that kind of thing. We also found out while we were there that they said that Halifax was like the Canadian Navy was all out of Halifax, and so there's some naval boats and stuff there, some World War II type things you can check out. There's a nautical museum, a whole bunch of boats that are old time boats. There's a nice little shopping district. Like we went to that crazy donut place
Mhm.
where they had humongous donuts, like hand face size donuts,
Mhm.
like bigger than your mouth. Like Angel had a hard time getting her whole mouth on it. Donuts,
Yeah.
right? Um, a lot of gelato I saw when we were around there, and some other little places. But all in all, the way the cruise port was set up for at least when we got off Princess, got walked right off the ship through a terminal building and right onto the street. And then everything was right there. There was actually a little like children's museum, I think, right across the street. They were selling the barbecue
Mhm.
for cash. And then there was a off to the left there was like a little shopping, little like tourist shopping area, and we ended up going off to the right, which is where all the other docks were, and that's where we saw uh, like the more city life. And that's where the Hopper was and all that stuff. It was further down, and the beaver tail stuff, the
Yes.
pastry that they like, and pu poutine. It's they're French fries with gravy and cheese and whatnots and whatever. It's something that they eat a lot, and I probably said it wrong. Somebody might tell me I'm wrong, but nobody's telling me anything right now. So, but so Halifax, this is our second time that we were there. The first time we were tendered in on the when we were on the Enchanted Princess last year. We went right onto our motor coach and right out to Peggy's Cove. So we really didn't spend much time in Halifax itself at all because we came right back. It was pretty much an all day thing. And then this last time we were in Halifax itself for a little while. Uh, it's just the interesting thing about when you cruise, if you haven't done this before, is you have that option. You could either put a tour together or look ahead and have like we did hop on hop off in one places, or we did other things, or you can just walk the area. This was one of those port cities that was ready for us to shop right there. That's not always the case. Sometimes you'll get to an area and it'll be just nothing, and you have to kind of get away from it. Kind of like I say with Baltimore, if you were coming from somewhere else and you stopped in Baltimore, you would have to get a cab or something to get anything because it's like a good mile to get to anything away from the cruise port here. Something like Boston, we'll end up talking about Boston. You have to kind of get away from that immediate area because it's on the docks, and the docks are kind of far away from the rest of the town. I was saying there's certain like in Boston. We'll talk about Boston probably next week, where the they said the town's starting to get closer, like stretching into the cruise port area, but most of it was way up. Like we noticed, it was like a good couple miles away from the Boston terminal. It pretty much is all parking garages, and the convention center were like right there, and there are a few like office buildings and that one kitchen show, whatever. It was like right on the wharf. So, but like I said, so Halifax, if you got an interest in any of the areas here, like I said, in red, that's all Nova Scotia. So there's Sydney, which we did also go to see. So we'll talk a little bit about that right now, since Sydney was not a really big stop. They're known for a big red fiddle. This ginormous fiddle, like 3, 4 stories tall. It was big, and the shopping there was pretty much containers outside with like a flea market in a big open area, and then they had a coffee shop and a couple little kiosk type little places to shop there. We did not elect to leave the port area there, but that was one of the places we were at.
Right. But I enjoyed that because it was,
And,
it was like crafts. They had a lot of craft vendors inside, and you could find all kinds of things.
oh, we did. You bought your little tree, and I bought my an art a Blackhawks little money clip
Hmm.
thing. And one good thing about it being U.S. is right now our dollar is stronger than the Canadian dollar, so it was like 70 cents to a dollar, so it was significantly cheaper to buy things. Um, Now, when we got to Sydney, I had to actually go to an ATM and get Canadian dollars because they wouldn't take. They did, well, one guy did and one person
Yeah.
didn't. One person wanted cash, which is fine. We got like 40 Canadian dollars or something like that, and then you bought what you
Yeah, you
needed,
could
and
spend it
somewhere
there.
else you bought something else. So, but yeah, I don't see anybody online. But again, just like any other time, you can always respond here, talk to us, DM, add questions, add anything you want us to talk about. I think next week I think we'll talk about Portland and Boston. As I said, that'll be the U.S. side. So, we did three. We also did St. John. I guess we talk a little bit about St. John right now. St. John was nice because it's on a hill. That's kind of the one thing about St. John. St. John was on that big hill. Remember? Um, but if you walk straight, we went on Sunday this time. Remember, you thought we were concerned about Sunday because some places
Yes,
Sunday
well,
nothing's
they
around.
closed.
But there was a nice park called Queen Square. Like we went up straight up, and then we went over like 3 or 4 blocks, and there's a big like common area, and they had vendors there, and it was actually the locals. It wasn't a tourist area. We also walked from there to King Square and into a marketplace, and the marketplace was definitely tourist. Yeah, so I like to try to stay where the tourists are not to get the better prices and maybe some of the local stuff that you wouldn't get anywhere else. So, but St. John has a container village right at the base of the ship that you walk out on, and it's kind of neat to see. It's all done up in a lot of different colors and things, and they have these locks that you can buy that are that you seal your love in a lock, and it's supposed to stay there forever. That's their whole thing behind it. This love mural that you can do. Um, but there there are plenty of activities that you can check out. You can let me know what you're interested in. There's fishing. There's food. Food is a big thing in all these places. Like if you like lobster, oysters, clams, seafood of that nature. There's all these different food places to go that you can do a food tour. You can do the hopper tour that we did. You can do hop on, hop off, basically like a trolley to take you around.
Yeah, I
Uh,
like the hop on, hop off.
and we did that one here this time in Boston. But they kind of give you some ideas of what's in the local area, and it's kind of neat to hear from a local person what's there. But they're very they speak English. And so that's what somebody had asked me like if they speak French, and I said, well, Quebec does. Quebec, it's a little further inland, but Nova Scotia and New Brunswick, which is where St. John is, are predominantly English-speaking provinces of Canada. So they speak very similar to us, and it's not like you have a kind of any kind of language barrier. But they're Canadian, we're U.S., so they'll tell you a little bit about themselves. We do also. Lori asked about if there's any moose in Halifax, and the girl said they're more like in New Brunswick. So
Mhm.
this is Nova Scotia, which is on the coast. New Brunswick is more inland. In St. John, they said that's the thing that they have. So yeah, if you guys have any other questions for us, we'd love to hear from you. As always, just post it here, and we'll continue to do destinations and things on Monday and come back with the word of the day. So we'll talk about Boston and Portland, Maine next week, and then we're actually going to be RVing back up to Boston, so we'll probably have some more insight into Boston after that. We'll probably talk more about Salem, Massachusetts in 2 weeks because that's where Lori wants us to go actually. So we'll look at some pictures and things. But if you have anything specifically you want us to answer, please put it in here so that we can get back to you because this is a channel for everybody who's here who's watching. It's supposed to be interactive. We want to hear from you. We don't want to just be putting stuff out here. It kind of sometimes feels lonely. I want to know there's people out there. I mean, it says we have 100 people that are watching, different times. So I'd like to hear from you. So until then, we'll see you guys next week. Bye bye.